Yes, sir. Another day in paradise, baby. Phil Collins. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Willie Epting Jr. Hashtag Brothers of Baseball Show. Big Game Christian Sports Network. Easy for me to say. Checking in, second segment. Thank you guys out there for checking us out on Facebook Live for the network's Facebook page, as well as the Shakeback Media Group Twitter and YouTube channels. Appreciate that. We got a special guest. Not really a guest, but this is the first time he's been on the program, any of the programs for the Shakeback Media Group. We're going to bring him in here in just a second, man. But before we move any further, or just in case you missed it in the first segment, rather, Power Rankings, top 7 each league, hashtag Jabo, just a bit outside, as well as the top 14 in the majors. We also did the good, the bad, and the ugly. Big Poppy, congratulations. Mr. Avila, congratulations. Mr. Cott, congratulations. You guys are now enshrined as immortals forever in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And then, of course, we did, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead. Whoop. Oh, that's enough, Phil. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started, or we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest, Scott Morganroth. What can I say, man? This dude here is the do everything, all everything, be everything. He is known wide world in terms of sports talk, as well as writing, an esteemed editor and journalist out of South Florida. He's been doing this for a while. He likes to remind me of that. I've been on his show. He's got several shows. I've been on a couple of his shows already, and we're partnering together to do a couple things. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring him in right now. The Motor City Mad Mouth himself, Scott. What's going on, Scott?
All right, Willie, glad to be on your show. It's really been looking forward to it for a long time. So let's ready to rip, rattle, and roll.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, welcome to the Shakeback Media Group, and in particular, the hashtag Brothers of Baseball show right here with your boy. This is usually a 2 to 3, maybe even 4-person operation, but time has gotten away, or shall I say life has gotten away, and some of the other contributors that are really, really consistent in appearing have had some life issues and scheduling issues. So I'm very, very glad to have you, man. So you ready to get into some baseball talk? Because I sent you some stuff and we're going to get right into it.
I'm always ready to talk baseball. What are you talking about? Come on. I mean, I'm wearing a Miami Marlins cap, my friend.
Yeah, and not only is he ready to talk baseball, he's always ready to just talk, period. All right, before we move any further, though, we got to make sure we pay the bills, man. And this second segment, it is being brought to you by us. Who is us? Well, we is us. Well, who is we? We is the Big Game Christian Sports Network. First and foremost, we want to say thank you for tuning in for the last 10 years. Because of you, we still have the pulse of sports in the Metroplex running through our streaming veins. And we look forward to 10 more, celebrating 10 years. We are the BGC Sports Network. And I'm going to tell a quick, no, I'm not going to tell another story about that right now, real quick. So, or I'm not going to do that right now. All right, so let's get into this. Scott, I want you to tell everybody your thoughts on the Miami Marlins as we are just past the All-Star break. I mentioned them as just a bit outside in my power rankings. What do they need to do in order to make a dent and actually make a run for one of those final 2 wild card spots?
You should be asking me that after Thursday night, because we have the Cincinnati Reds this week. And I think it's a very pivotal series, Willie. It really is, because we'll find out whether or not we can develop any kind of offense, because right now we've been anemic. You know, for example, in the Phillies series of 3 games before the break and one with the Texas Rangers that I was at, we were outscored 24-1, and we went on to have 37 scoreless innings. Willie, okay, Don Larson isn't coming back through that room. We can't throw 4 perfect games in a row looking to generate some kind of offense, ghost runner and all. We need offense, as they call it in Canada. Okay, we need offense. So, I don't know. Ask me on Friday, okay? But right now, we have good pitching. There's no question Sandy Alcantara is a horse. This guy here reminds me of Roy Halladay and Roy Oswalt in the modern era in terms of being able to throw complete games. He was taxed a little bit for like 6 innings yesterday due to a little heat. Of course, he had a little travel to L.A., but he still had a pretty good game nonetheless, amassing 10 strikeouts. So here what you had over the weekend. J.J. Bleday came up. Max Meyer had all of 2 starts that went 5 2/3 innings, 2/3 on Pittsburgh, where our young, promising pitcher is developing a little bit of arm issues right now. We're still waiting for the imaging to come back. So, we have got a lot of good pitchers in the pipeline. We have Jesus Luzardo set to come back pretty soon. Sixto Sanchez, a guy you're going to hear a lot more about, is a stud too. So we don't lack pitching. And I was impressed with Jacob Berry, who will probably be about 2 or 3 years out, an infielder playing at the University of Arizona as well as LSU. So, there's a lot of variables. During that offensive drought, I was wondering myself if Don Mattingly was going to insert himself in the lineup and hit a little ball. Never did ask him that, but I will when I see him next time if we run into another drought. I just had to focus on some of the other things at hand, but I didn't get to that one. But I don't go out there and put them all out there. I pick my spots when I need to put these things in there and then go out there and throw that little nugget out there, and we'll see how the rest of my colleagues act. So,
yeah,
if you're gonna ask me about the Marlins right now, I could give you a much better answer probably Friday, because this is a very pivotal series against Cincinnati, because we have the New York Mets coming into town over the weekend. We know that the Mets, to me, and Buck Showalter and that juggernaut that they're building in the Big Apple with Steve Cohen, I can create a 4th luxury tax just for call it the Cohen tax. So this guy here, you talk about a guy that could spend a lot of dough. Okay, he will do it. So these are an important 4 games. They really are.
And I'm thinking that with Miami being a bit of a young team, that they won't be looking past the Reds, who are obviously have not played up to their expectation in the cellar in the National League Central. So hopefully for them and Marlins fans out there, that they won't look forward or look past the Reds. Now, speaking, you just spoke about Sandy. Of course, he was an all-star for the Marlins in L.A., but I wanted to ask you about another all-star, and that's Jazz Chisholm. Is he a budding superstar in your mind?
No question about it. Number 1, he can hit for power. Number 2, when he gets on base, he's a stolen base net. And 3, defensively, he can track down a lot of balls, especially when he's playing center field. I love Jazz. I've talked to him. I like his free spirit, color your hair, do whatever you want. He's just a good kid. He is. And you got to remember, though, too, Willie, this kid was voted into the All-Star game. He didn't get selected as a reserve. The only thing that prevented him from actually playing in the game, he has a back issue. So
right.
I had to know about back issues. I've had them for a long time, but you take a young kid like him who has a back issue. Oh, I love Jazz Chisholm. I think everybody does. We can keep this kid long term. You have a good core piece. You really, really do. So, yeah, budding superstar. Well, he's an all-star. Mm-hmm. And what people have to understand, as a Miami Marlins, say what you want, okay, had 3 all-stars hits: Sandy Alcantara, Garrett Cooper, and then you had Jazz Chisholm. When was the last time you saw 3 all-stars for the Miami Marlins? Might have to look that one up. Don't have it, but you have 3 nonetheless. So, yeah, to answer your question, the short version, yes.
I'm thinking that question, or the answer to that question, may involve one Gary Sheffield. I'm thinking he's going to be one of the, if that ever happened, his name's got to be in there. And it's funny because we got a couple of comments from social media. My main man George Bendicki, he's always checking in. He asked a question, and there it is right there. And I was going to ask you this myself. Will the Miami Marlins be a seller at the deadline? Your thoughts on that?
Again, to me, that's a 50-50 coin toss, because when I talked to Don Mattingly and the rest of us did a week ago, he says that the owner, Bruce Sherman, will spend the money if they're in the race. He will. He did say that he will. He will, but they have to prove to him on the field that they're willing to make these rental deals if they're going to do it. We have a good farm system for sure. So I would say right now, I'm going to go back to answering what I said before. I believe it depends by the end of Thursday night, once you go into the Mets series, whether we're going to have a puncher's chance. We are in the hunt for the wild card. And if anybody knows any history about the Miami Marlins, Willie, they've been to the playoffs 3 times, and 2 of the times they won it all as a wild card team. The only time that we lost in the playoffs was when Atlanta knocked us out, but we still beat the Chicago Cubs in the first round. So rule number 1, when the Marlins get into playoffs, they don't lose. Okay. Unlike our Florida Panthers, when they get in the playoffs, all they do is lose. Okay.
Right.
the one playoff series win in 1996 doesn't really cut it. The Marlins have 2 world championship banners, proudly at Lone Depot Park. So, hope that answers your question. I think that we'll know by Friday morning where we stand. I mean, I hope that we're going to have playoff baseball here. And you got to remember, Don Mattingly's contract is up at the end of the year, too. He'll be a free agent. And I wonder how long. I'm not opening up a can of worms here at all, whether or not he'll be around a whole lot longer if he feels the direction is going good, whether he'd stay, he would. But this is a tough market to win in, knowing that the payroll is traditionally low and the attendance isn't overly that high.
Right. And thank you, George, by the way, for the question. You always come in right on time, and George has been rocking with me, Scott, for a while. He's a very, very big supporter of ours, myself and Rachel Hill and Marshawn Powers, her and the huddle out in Cleveland, WOVU 95.9 out there in Cleveland, where we talk all things Cleveland sports. But I wanted to ask you one other question about the Marlins, and I want to get your takes on a couple of things from the All-Star festivities. Sure. And you actually already answered this question about the Miami Marlins in terms of possibly becoming more relevant in the National League East. So I won't actually ask you that. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the All-Star festivities in Los Angeles, Chavez Ravine, the All-Star game in LA for the first time, I want to say ever. I'm not exactly 100% sure.
No, I believe it's the third time they've held the game. I think one was at the LA Coliseum, I believe. And they held it in 1980 at Dodger Stadium in 42 years.
You're right.
Now. So let me make one point now that you brought it up, though. I'm glad you brought LA. So while it's fresh in my mind, if this game were played in anywhere else but Dodger Stadium or maybe Angels, Sandy Alcantara gets a start. Mm-hmm. So the popular choice was he didn't get the start. He was the second man in. Both of them had clean innings. Well, the American League won anyways, 3-2. So I felt Sandy deserved the start. A lot of people did, but how do you go ahead and go against the Hollywood theatrics that are what they are? Sandy should have started, but both of them had clean innings. And, the respect that Sandy Alcantara ended up getting from Joe Davis as well as John Smoltz let the whole national audience know we have a stud pitcher here in Miami, probably the best kept secret in all of Major League Baseball.
And just that, I said this in the last episode that I did, there were a few stories that I thought were very, very intriguing in the fact that Clayton Kershaw Shohei Ohtani would have started, but the fact that Clayton Kershaw started his first All-Star game ever, and the fact that it was in Los Angeles, I thought was very fitting. All right, let's go back to the All-Star game. Tell the people and tell the listeners and the viewers out there. Once again, this is Willie Epting Jr. on the hashtag Brothers of Baseball. We got the Motor City Mad Mouse, Scott Morganroth, with us, and we're talking baseball. The actual home run derby itself, what are your overall thoughts in terms of how much fun and how much interest and how much of a presence it can bring back to the game and sort of an excitement level when you have all these young sluggers out here doing these things, these seemingly unhuman things with hitting the balls as far as they do?
Well, they've been holding home run derbies long before they had their most recent chain of events. I mean, I think the only thing that stood out in this home run derby is Albert Pujols was competitive. Mm-hmm. There's a guy here who's retiring at the end of the year. They brought him and Miguel Cabrera in there to be the honor their past accomplishments. So, but you know what? To me, the home run derby is fun to watch. But you have to understand that, they're changing the balls around and there's a lot of tinkering to do with it. So are you really hitting them out, or are we playing wiffle ball here only on the Major League Baseball level? I mean, I'm not going to say it's bad. It's side entertainment, and everybody wants to go out there and do what they can to make it a great show. And it's certainly good for TV. But many years ago, they actually used to have a home run derby at Wrigley Field in Los Angeles. I don't know, that's probably before your time, but look it up. And, they used to have home run derbies, season and whatever they did. So I think it's good. Again, MLB is trying to make a good weekend out of the whole thing. I've got no problem with it at all. But I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock in it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. For me, I think it's just the opposite, because when at the height of the steroid mess and everything that was going on with the balls flying out of the ballpark, I mean, obviously we're not seeing balls going out of the stadium to the tune that we did then. but I still think it's very exciting. And for Juan Soto to be the youngest player to ever do it, I was really pulling for Pete Alonso to get that third one in a row because, number one, we've never seen it before. I think that would have been pretty cool, but I can't really argue with Juan Soto winning that thing. And then, of course, the show that G-Rod put on from the kid from Seattle, the show that he put on was nothing short of remarkable. All right, we got about 2 minutes left to go in the segment, Scott. I'm telling you, man, time flies when you're having fun. I do want to ask you about the mics up, and in particular, Cortez and Jose Trevino. Jose Trevino is a friend of the show. He's been on the show a few times. We got a chance to go out there to his toy drive in North Dallas, in one of the suburbs out there last year, and cover that. The kids were on fire, and Jose is just a tremendous, tremendous young man. What are your thoughts about, or how do you feel about the players being mic'd up in those instances where we can actually get a glimpse of what's going through these guys' minds during the live ball?
Fantastic. I love the show that we saw with the Toronto Blue Jays pitcher talking to John Smoltz and Joe Davis about what to do. Come on. I mean, now you're talking here using technology. You're talking about a guy asking another pitcher for advice what to do. This, to me, was good. I think you talk about implementing different things, and you may start seeing more of it if you get certain players cooperating. If you're looking to really generate the interest with the younger crowd, I think they're on to something with this one. So I was really delighted to see it. I really was. I mean, it's an exhibition game, but it certainly keeps things into perspective. Are announcers going to give players a tip what to do? No, but you get to learn a little bit more about the player. And nowadays, when we've always talked about marketing in the past year players, I think this was really good. This is probably one of the things I enjoyed the most at the All-Star game. And I think Fox did a great job along with the Blue Jays pitcher, Joe Davis, as well as John Smoltz. I really thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I liked how during the game they had Big Papi down in the dugout going from person to person. I mean, getting live stuff, sound bites during that time. Now, I remember when they kind of implemented this, and I was like, yo, this is going to be something big and something that, just what you said, Scott, that can implement or actually draw interest from a younger crowd to get them back to the ballpark. As we know, the Major League Baseball fan average age is older than me. So I don't know. I think it's a glorious way to actually bring some realness. And just like you said, baseball does, to me, the worst job of all of the other four more major sports of marketing their superstars. Okay, we got a couple seconds left before we go to break. I want to shout out George again. George says they even had a TV show back in the 50s based on the home run derby. Scott, I don't know if you know anything about that, but if you do, you can explain it on the other side of the break, because that's what we're going to do. Come on back on the other side, ladies and gentlemen. Willie Epting, Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth, # Brothers of Baseball Show, Big Game Christian Sports Network. Y'all come on back and holler at us.